What's up you guys, Aditi? Welcome back to our channel. I have made videos on how to make study notes and study tips वगैरह and still people ask me to make a dedicated video to students who are in distance education. I will not lie that these study tips are not just for them. It can be applicable to anyone and everyone, but I'm going to explain it in such a way that it is helpful to students who are in distance education. So let's begin. So before I give you any study tips, there are some questions, I think 4 questions over the top of my head, that you should ask yourself before you get into distance education. If you are already in distance education, maybe skip ahead, but I will suggest not to, just watch this part. So there are some questions you should ask yourself before you get into distance education or distance learning mode. So the first question is ki, are you disciplined? Are you self-motivated? Because we don't have professors and our fellow colleagues to keep us in track and focus. So you have to make sure to be disciplined and to have motivate yourself, even because you don't have your classmates or batchmates to actually push you, like नहीं पढ़ना पड़ेगा यार, exam आ रही है ये वो or whatever. It's the other way around as well sometimes, but you don't have that. So those are the first 2 questions. The third question is, how do you learn the best? So everyone have a different way of learning. I am a visual learner, some are auditory learners, some are kinesthetic. So it's important for us to know what kind of a learner we are. I've already made a video on that, you can check that out. And fourth point is that, are you okay with being by yourself and doing things by yourself? Because again, we are not going to go to college, we are not going to get this college ka feel. It's very special. If you have ever been to college, I'm sure you have. 11th 12th mein kabhi to gaye hoge college, so that feel is very different. So if you answered yes to all these 4 questions, then you're perfect for distance learning mode. But if you are confused, you are saying maybe I don't know, or if you're saying no, then maybe you should take some time and think about whether you want to get into a distance learning mode or you should actually try for regular college. Just don't click off this video, because I am going to give you tips on how to turn that no, maybe, I don't know to a yes, like how to cope with distance learning. So let's start. So the first questions I asked you is, are you self-motivated? Are you focused? Are you disciplined? So let's tackle that. So to feel focused, to be focused, to discipline yourself, you need to have a study plan, a study schedule. So the first thing you need to do is create a study schedule, because you're not going to have your professors or somebody teaching you and you get an idea कि अच्छा ये chapters हो चुके हैं, ये topics हो चुके हैं, okay, इतना portion बाकी है, all of that stuff. You can study along with the professor, like उनके 4 topics हो गए तो मेरे 3 ही topics, so I have to do that one more topic. So you can like keep yourself in track and in check. But when you're studying on your own and you're in distance learning, ये सब नहीं होता है. Also, university just posts the exam dates and then you're like, oh my god, you start panicking and then you start pulling all-nighters. कुछ दिमाग में जाता नहीं है. I have spoken about this in this video, why you should not pull all-nighters. It's not a good idea to. I've explained it in this video. So if you should not pull all-nighters and you should study from the beginning, then how to do it, how to be focused. पहले plan बनाने के लिए, to make a plan, what you have to do is you should know how much time I have on my hands, how many days I have to study. So what you do is check your university के website and check last year के exam dates, because that is going to give you an idea कि आपकी exam कब conduct होगी. So for example, if I'm taking Mumbai University IDOL, which is distance learning, Mumbai University का in question, तो their exam gets conducted around December. Because of Corona सब change हो गया है, so let's not talk about that. But I'm giving an example कि December में conduct होती है उनकी exam. So assume that your exam will be conducted around that time. So just to be safer, instead of considering December or January, we are going to consider that our exam is going to be conducted in November. So you have more time, or depends on when your exam is conducted. If it is conducted after November, you have more time on your hands and you can study and revise more. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Then the second thing is working backwards. I spoke about this in problem solving and decision making video in my cognitive psychology video. You can understand more about it in that. But working backwards is taking looking at your destination and working from there till the starting point. So we already know when your exam is going to be conducted in November 2021, 2021, and think about we're in July right now. So I have July, August, September, October, 4 months in my hand. Now you're going to open your textbooks, each subject ke textbooks, and see how much content you have. So maybe let's say for psychology, I have 4 chapters or 4 big chapters to study. I'll be like, okay, I can finish half a chapter a day. So I'll finish 1 chapter in 2 days to 3 days. So it depends on you, how much time you take and how long you have to study. Secondly, I am someone who cannot just study for 6 to 7 hours at a stretch, just one subject. I need to like switch things up. So I would plan it out like taking 2 to 3 topics of psychology and then 5-6 topics of another subject, and I would plan it in such a way that I'll take a heavy subject and a lighter subject in one day, so it's not too much for me. I can't like give you a plan like ye lo, this is your plan, because one, our subjects, our topics will be different, because this, I don't know who is watching. I have the audience from Assam and Kerala and Mumbai and from everywhere. So I just know about Mumbai University. I can't tell for everyone. And also in BA, there are so many other subjects that you can choose which I don't even know about. And secondly, everyone's way of studying is very, very different. So I'm just going to give you ideas like I just did, and you're going to formulate a plan for yourself. Another thing that you have to remember while working backwards is July se leke November tak you're not going to create this learning, studying ka plan, because you have to revise as well. So if you are assuming that our exam is going to be on 15 November se chalu hogi, depending on like I said, पहले ईयर का देख के और अज्यूमिंग कि 15 मिड नवंबर में चालू हो सकती है. सो यू कांट हैव अ प्लान, द स्टडिंग प्लान दैट आई जस्ट स्पोक अबाउट टिल 14th November. Okay, you are supposed to have it a few weeks before that. So let's say till the 3rd week of October or the last week of October. So you have 15 days of November in your hand, like 14 days. So 2 weeks in your hand to revise all the subjects. If you think कि 2 weeks बहुत कम है, तो again, like I said, you know yourself, so you can formulate a plan accordingly. Now, utna hi time is not enough for revision. You have to keep revising in the middle while you are studying. I spoke about spaced repetition and all of that in that video. Just watch that after this one. I don't want this video to be way too long. Okay? So what you can do is maybe if you are studying for 5 days a week, 1 day in a week you will have for revision. Something like that depends on you, or you can have the weekends to revise, and on the weekdays you are studying, or no, you do you. Maybe you can have 1 day in the middle of the week, and then after a couple of days another day to revise, so that you kind of get that spaced repetition in line as well. So this is about creating your own study plan, a study schedule. There are a few things that you need to keep in mind when you are creating this plan. First is that plan how much time you're going to give to a subject. Okay, so I had decided कि psychology के लिए मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा time देना है, because it's the most important subject for me. And I used to do that, but along with that, I am very, very weak in statistics. So I had to give more time to statistics than I gave to psychology. So that's how I had formulated a plan. Depending on what subject you find difficult, which subject you are comfortable with, uske hisab se you will give more or less time to those subjects while you are creating this study plan. Second thing that you need to keep in mind when you are making this study schedule is that don't bite more than you can chew. Be realistic when you are creating this study plan, because Now that you started studying, you don't have to fill up all of your free time with studying. Don't do that, because you are going to burn out, you are going to get tired and irritated. So just because you have started studying, you don't want your life to like end, because this is just the beginning. So always have time to unwind, to de-stress yourself, have some self-care tips and tricks, so you feel refreshed whenever you are going back to studying. If you want a video on what you should do when you are taking study breaks, let me know, I'll make a video on that. But be realistic when you are making your study plan. So what I do is I use Google Calendar nowadays. I used to do that a few years ago, and I've started doing this again this year. I use it to plan out when I'm going to script, when I'm going to film, when I'm going to edit, when I have my tuitions, my work, everything. Right now it doesn't have any of the study stuff because my college hasn't begun yet. So when I'll have that, I'll put that in as well. I'll put when is my classes, when are my lectures, and when I'm supposed to study, what I'm supposed to study. So coming to what you're supposed to study, when you're supposed to study, don't put things like, oh, study psychology, study humanities, study English. Don't do that. Don't be vague. You need to be specific, like study psychology chapter 3 or study psychology, and put the names of the topics that you're going to study in that time slot. I tell you why not to be vague, because when the time comes to study now, your brain will come up with excuses to not do that, because it doesn't want to study, it doesn't want to work. So you will be like, which topic to study, which subject to study, I don't know, ye wo, and will come up with excuses. Don't do that. Don't give yourself that even 1 second ka slot in the middle for your brain to come up with excuses. Reduce that decision making time. So put specifically the topic names, the chapter name, or even page numbers. From this page to this page number, I have to study in that time slot. So when it's time to study, all you have to do is go, grab your books and stationery, any pen, pencil, whatever, and sit to study. The third thing to keep in mind while creating the studying plan is to get into a routine. Generally, who are choosing to get into distance education are somebody who are already working, or there has been a gap between when you were studying before and now. So generally those are the people who get into it. If you're not, I'm not trying to stereotype this, it's just the generalized version. There are exceptions, of course. So I don't know what you were doing, but maybe you were in a job or you're still in that job. Maybe you were playing video games the whole day, or maybe you were Netflixing while stuffing your face. I don't know. The point is that it has been a while since you are doing that, and your brain, your body has gotten used to it. So we need to break habits to make habits. So get yourself in a routine, and that routine depends on you. If you are someone who wakes up at 8 o'clock, starts studying at 9 and studies till midday or till 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening and then rests, or you are someone who wakes up late and starts working at 2 o'clock till 9. It depends on you. It depends upon your day. If you are working and you have to work from home for 9 to 5 or 9 to 4, whatever your work timing is, then maybe you have to study after 8 o'clock or maybe 7 o'clock after taking some time off and break, and then studying for a couple of hours or more. So basically what I'm trying to say is, knowing your day, just get into a routine already. The next thing is that make sure to study particular hours in a day. Okay, study particular hours in a day. Fifth point, that limit your studying time to not more than 2 hours on one course, because your brain kind of gets tired of doing the same thing. So maybe you can just study one subject a couple of hours, or like 1.5 hours, and then switch again. This is just a suggestion. You don't have to follow it. If you are studying the way you're studying and you are getting good results, just continue that. You don't need to try things out. If you want to, just give this a try. Okay, so this is like a disclaimer I just gave in the middle. Okay, so just try out an experiment and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, and if you don't want to, you don't have to follow this point. But what I want you to follow is that after studying for 1 to 2 hours, take a break of say 15-20 minutes. It will help your brain just wind down, reset. It needs that every time. Everything, machines need reset buttons. Why do you think humans won't? So it's a good thing to take 15-20 minutes break after studying for 1 to 2 hours. Especially after 2 hours, you definitely have to take like a big break of like 20-30 minutes for sure, for your brain to like relax, because after a while, like after 1.5 hour, 2 hours tops, your brain just can't focus anymore. So it needs that break and resetting. And the sixth and the last thing that you should keep in mind when you're creating a study plan is that not everything that we plan goes according to that plan, right? Because I always believe in this, that man proposes, God disposes. You will plan everything, your life, your day to a T, and most of it will just उड़ जाएगा हवे में खिड़की के बाहर. It'll just not follow. The plan will not be followed because life just gets in the way. So when something like this happens, when you have to do something, you have to go and do something instead of studying, when you had actually planned to study, you are going to compensate this time somewhere else during the week, okay, on the Google Calendar, wherever you're doing your study plan, okay. You're always going to compensate that time. You can't be like, oh, I can't study now. No, you have to utilize, you have to compensate that studying time somewhere else during the week. Okay, now you know how to be disciplined, how to keep yourself in track when studying. Now let's tackle the point where you have to do everything on your own. I feel like, I believe that distance learning is the best way that people become independent, because you don't have any of your classmates or anyone to you don't have your classmates or anyone to tell you, oh, exam is coming, or we have this assignment. You have to do all of that on your own. You have to always check the university website. In distance learning, you won't have a professor or something like that. Depends upon the university though. Again, a disclaimer that you can just contact, like, oh sir, ma'am, I did not understand this point, can you explain it to me again? Like, you don't exactly get that generally. So I will advise you to make Google your best friend, because I definitely did that. Like I already mentioned, stats was something I am extremely weak at. I used to attend the lectures, but I would still not get it. And even if I'm a 28-year-old, I'm still scared to ask people ki like, oh, mujhe ye nahi samjha. I'm still that socially awkward person. I used to YouTube it, and I used to Google definitions, because the textbook that was recommended to us by a professor was really difficult. So I used to always Google a term to get the definition or a meaning in different words, because that really helps to understand what it means. Also, you get so many examples also on Google. I have even YouTubed, I have searched on YouTube and I've watched so many videos on how to solve a particular sum, and that definitely has helped me. So whatever you want, you will get it on Google. You are like, seriously, I sometimes feel so jealous of this generation because when I was 17 and 18 years old, your internet was definitely there, but Google and YouTube wasn't at its peak like it is right now. We could not like Google anything and get an answer. Don't depend on someone and don't cry. Use this and make Google a best friend. I'm telling you, you will not have any problems. Another thing to remember when you are revising and reviewing your stuff is to take tests, because sometimes in let's take stats for example. Our professor used to give us sums to solve, and then we should tell him how we have solved, and then he used to give us feedback. You don't generally get that. You're just studying by yourself, so it's always better to review and you are going to give yourself feedback. And how do you do that? Is by taking tests. So I don't know about other universities, but Mumbai University ka IDIL has past papers. Now, because we are in COVID times and the way the exams are conducted, obviously we're not going to get past papers, but this point will come in handy when things do get normal, so just keep it in mind. Coming to the point of being self-motivated, when you're working alone, or even if you're in a group, but especially when you're working alone, you tend to lose focus, you tend to feel demotivated, and you start doubting yourself, you start wondering, why am I doing this? Why? You start to feel overwhelmed. So I would ask you that in such a time, always keep the end in mind. You can create a vision board, if you like, something to remind you that why you're doing it, your why, your purpose, the end for which you have started and you have embarked on this journey. Also, there are some days when we just feel too overwhelmed and too in our head that we can't focus. During such times, just take a day off, take a few hours off. Self-care, you should do that. You should take care of your physical, mental, emotional needs first, because if you are not feeling your best, you are not your best, you will not be able to give your best. I don't think I need to tell you to have a designated study space to have a study place clean and neat so you feel fresh, to shut off all the technology and all the distractions that you may have while you're studying. I don't think I need to tell you all of this. You're smarter than that, right? So that is it for today's video. I hope this video is going to help you. Don't forget to check out how I study, like how I make my notes. Although I'm talking about professor and all of that, you can just avoid all of that and just take all of the other points of how I make notes. If you like to make notes, definitely check that out. Also, don't forget to watch how I keep myself productive, or how I am so productive. Go watch that video as well. Or what else? The other study tips video of how I remember and revise things. Definitely check those videos out. So all of these 4 videos are just proper tips and tricks to study well. If this video helped, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next Friday with another psychology video. Bye.